Good afternoon, team. This is Robin here, your Emerald Upline. I am excited to come to you to bring to you our first video recap of chapters 1 through 3 of The Secret Code of Success. This is an amazing, amazing book that really will help each and every one of you just really determine and figure out why you might have a habit of putting your foot on the brake when it comes to reaching your full potential in life. And so that's the reason why I really encourage you, if you have not bought the book or if you have not downloaded the PDF that I have given in several other posts about this particular book study, that you do so today. It's not too late to start. It's not too late to begin. And these first 3 chapters are super easy reads, and so you won't be too far behind if you get started today. So with that, every Monday and every Friday we will have a recap. I'm doing the first 3 chapters today, and then Friday we'll have additional leaders every Friday and every Monday focus on one particular chapter, and we'll do that every Monday and every Friday the month of November. So I'm excited to see what sort of mindset shifts will take place this month as we continue to unpack this book, okay? So Noah St. John really talks in the very beginning of this book about focusing on why millions of people who've spent so much time and money trying to improve themselves, why they still are going down the road of life with one foot on the brake. When I read this first page of this book, I was like, man, this is going to completely be relatable, and people will identify with this book heavily because I see this so much, not only in business, in this particular business, our Plexus business, but in life, how people continuously put their foot on the brake and they don't really even understand why they're doing this. And so he has a lot of really great visuals in this book, and one of the good visuals that he has is the scales of success, where he talks about the why to benefits and the why not to's cost, right? And so many times we can make these lists, and you may not physically write the things down, but in your head, most people can give legitimate reasons why to do this business, okay? But then when you think about the subconscious mind, we're thinking about more than anything, and we're doing it subconsciously, the why not to cost. And so the why not to cost, a lot of you may identify with some of these. I'm just going to give you an example of a few. I have a million other things I could be doing right now. Who is this girl anyway? Meaning me, the team leader. And why should I listen to her? What if I get to the end and still haven't learned how to get my foot off the brake? What if it works for everyone else but not for me? What is she trying to sell me? I've been burned before and I don't want it to happen again. Did I mention all the other things I could be doing right now? This busyness cycle that we're in especially here in the United States, but in the world, like we're so busy that we haven't stopped to think about how we're not living our life anymore. We're just simply existing. And I see it over and over and over again. And so a lot of these things are happening in our subconscious mind, though. And so as quickly as we say we want to do something different with our life, just as quickly as we say that, we then pump the brakes because we've got these why not to costs that are happening in our head subconsciously. Okay, so your mind is like an infinite weighing machine. Every moment, your mind is weighing your perceived benefit against your perceived cost of doing any behavior or activity you can think of. And so we know that you and I have never met anyone in this world that says they don't want to experience success in their life. No one wants to live their life without having wins, right? Without having victory, without feeling like they've experienced some level of success. And whatever that success looks like to you, it's going to be different for every person. But no one wants to go through this life feeling like they haven't accomplished anything that's great, right? But there's a hidden reason why you're stuck, right? So we need to come to the realization that everybody wants to experience success in their life, but there's specifically a reason why people stay stuck, right? So this visual is one of the best that I've ever seen, where he talks about this iceberg and he likens it to the top of the iceberg being conscious choice, right? That's internal, okay? And that's intentional, things that you're doing intentionally daily, and it's less than 10% of the total brain function. 90% of your brain function comes from the subconscious no choice. And that's like the dark room that we'll talk about in an analogy that he gives in just a few minutes further on in the book. But this is unintentional, habitual thoughts and behaviors and actions. This is 90%. It represents more than 90% of the total brain function. And so when you can't see something, it's hard to change it. And so that's the reason why it's so hard to change your the routine in your life and what you keep coming up with the same issues. The reason why is because most of this 90% of the total brain function, it's the subconscious, the no choice. It's like you don't even know that it's happening because it's in your subconscious mind, right? And so this is why this is such a transformational book. Already in the first 12 pages of the book, right? And he talked about and explained this analogy between, furniture. You can't rearrange furniture in the dark, right? You can't rearrange furniture in a place where you can't see anything, okay? So it doesn't mean that you're incapable of rearranging the furniture. It means that you're perfectly capable of rearranging the furniture, but you've got to see what the heck you're doing, right? And so that's what this book is going to unpack for us. And so when you think about the cost of actually allowing yourself to succeed, this is where people begin to pump the brakes, and they do it subconsciously, is because you're thinking about the cost of actually allowing yourself to succeed, okay? And these are the cost of success that a lot of time people ask these questions in their subconscious mind. Is it going to take a lot of time to really be successful? I'm too busy. Look at my to-do list. I don't want the extra responsibility. What if my family doesn't approve? What if my spouse is jealous of me? What if someone laughs at me? What if my friends don't like me anymore? What if I can't sustain this level of success? All of these happen. All of these things, like these tapes replay in our head, right? But a lot of this is happening in the subconscious mind, right? So when you're thinking about every human being wants to succeed on the conscious level. So at the top of the iceberg, we all want to experience time freedom. We want to be able to walk away from our 9 to 5. We want to be able to stay at home with our babies. We want to be able to vacation whenever we feel like it. We want to be able to not trade time for money. Everybody wants that. The problem is that we have these why not tos and the cost of success. That's what's happening in 90% of our brain functioning, which is the subconscious mind, that causes us to not act on the things that we know will bring us long-term sustainable success in life, okay? So this is really where he's unpacking why our foot is on the brake, okay? And so a lot of times what we don't really get is that it's the fear. Why would someone feel fear when they start to get what they want? So how many of you can identify with this? You've experienced some level of success in your business, right? And you're excited. But as soon as you experience that success, you start to put the foot on the brake. You run hard to get that promotion, to get that rank. I want to get to silver. I want to get to gold. You get there and then you start to pump the brake. And you're like, well, you said you wanted to be emerald. So what happened? And so many times, like, we'll run hard for a goal. And then once we hit that goal, we're like, what do I do next? Do I want to keep going? Is this going to take too much more of my time? My team's getting bigger. I now not only have 20 people, I now have 80 people on my team. What do I do? And you subconsciously begin to pump the brakes, okay? And a lot of times this is the head trash. Hey, what do you think you're doing? You can't handle this. What if you can't keep this going? Why don't you just stop now and avoid the embarrassment for later? This is what we deal with every day, guys. It's namely called head trash, right? So in chapter 2, he talks more specifically about you can never solve a why-to problem with a how-to solution. And this is where I, as a leader, have been at fault many, many, many years, not only in my Plexus business and leading this team, but really focusing on, when I was in education and dealing with teachers and impacting them, and even with kids too, when I actually was teaching in the classroom. You can never solve a why-to problem with a how-to solution. So the world's most successful people, the ones teaching all the how to succeed programs, they can never really tell you how to get your foot off the brake because they're unconscious at allowing themselves to succeed. So I may give you the 4 steps of the real world. You've got to, we don't know what we really want. So you got to get rid of the fog. You've got to start trying and doing specific steps and doing your IPAs. And I am telling you all these things that you should be doing. Those are the how-tos. So I can teach you how-tos all day long, and I have tons of leaders on my team specifically that they know the how-tos. The problem is that the why-tos are always going to trump the how-tos, right? Because you cannot change your behavior at the level of behavior, right? You've got to change your thought life first, okay? And that's the reason why we continue to come back to mindset, okay? Because it's what's happening at the subconscious level, okay? So if you want to reach your full potential, you don't need any more how to succeed information, right? You don't need any more training calls for me to tell you how to succeed in this business, because all the tools have been given to you already. All you have to do is just stay abreast and stay up with what's going on my team page and link arms with your sponsor, right? That's it. And do your personal income producing activity. So you know the how-tos of this business, but now you need to get to the why-tos, right? Now it's time that you allow yourself to succeed to your full potential. It's time to get your foot off the brake in your life and your career and relationships for good. And that's why this is applicable to every aspect and every facet of your life. And he's gonna show us exactly how to do that. So when you think about the recap, it's really just talking about the why to's and why not to's of success, and how you're going to take the appropriate steps to restore the proper balance, right? And so the why to's aren't consistently taking over, and that you can implement the how to's because you're allowing your subconscious mind to get to a place where you're allowing yourself to have that success and experience success. And the final chapter, chapter 3, talks about the actual secret code is revealed. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, but this was a very transformational chapter to me too, because he talked about how he ever came to a point where he figured this out, the secret code. And when he talked about 1997, how he accidentally made a discovery when he went into a eating disorder seminar, and he walked in, and I can't remember why he said he went, but when he talked about the analogy of people who have eating disorders and how for so long they've been settling for crumbs, right? And it's the same thing that we do in our own personal life, even if we've never experienced an eating disorder, right? That he was saying himself that he'd been settling for crumbs his whole life, okay? And it's really the starvation of success. So other than food, what could human beings consume and therefore starve ourselves of? What no one had considered before was that human beings could starve ourselves of success, okay? And then he goes very deep into the female and why, specifically, you know, how we're kind of wired and how we've been valued in this country and really across the world, that you know, that our worth stems from our physical bodies. And so that's a lot of times why you see women who have, you know, issues with their body and body image and all that, and how they try to downplay that. And that goes into much deeper things when you read the book. And then he talks about the other sex and how men, you know, since the beginning of human history, they've been taught or told that their worth comes from their possessions, titles, jobs, net worth, holdings, and size of their bank account. And so what we call material bodies, right? So we're talking about both of those things. So he really delves into that. It's really great info. So I encourage you to go back and read that if you haven't already. But really he says, what is a success disorder? And this is something he kind of, a term that he coins, where he says it's what happens when a person develops a deeply negative self-belief, what he calls your head trash, and unconsciously develops a pattern of behavior marked by an aversion to or pushing away of success. And this is where he gets really deep. So he talks about the two truths is that everyone has potential, but no one has reached it yet. And he goes into specifics about we human beings fear not being who we really are. What we tend to fear even more is being who we really are. And this is where we tend to pump the brakes, right? Because we're fearful of being who we really are and reaching our full potential. And I hope that some of you really identify with this, because I know I did. He talked about the 3%ers. He talked about the 97.3% rule. It's just that 3%, there's just a few people that ever choose to take the correct steps and use them. And you can be a 3%er. That it's not, he says that the 3%ers in the world are not just that's it and it's definitive and it's written in stone and these are the only people who are the chosen few. So you can be a 3%er too, but only if you learn and follow the secret code, right? So he talks about unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. And he really drove home a really great analogy about driving a car. There was a great analogy to this that you're not even conscious of what you're doing when you get behind the wheel of a car. You're just going, right? So that was a really good piece that I thought a lot of people could relate to. And then finally, in the end, he talks about you really can't, again, you can't change your behavior at the level of behavior. This is super important. That's why you can know how to do something and never let yourself do it. And that's why the why-tos will always, always, always trump the how-tos. That's why you don't need another book to tell you about how to do something well. This is about the why-tos. And